Hey, welcome back. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is the Unraveling thread. So, I was on a video call with my family in Dhaka last week, and my niece was showing me her school project on her tablet. The call glitched for a second, her face freezing into a little mosaic of pixels, and as I waited for the connection to catch up, a thought struck me. That video, her voice, that precious, mundane moment, it wasn't just traveling through a wire. In that instant, it was likely bouncing through a data center in a small town in Ireland, or maybe one outside of Singapore. And that physical location, that slab of concrete and humming servers, exists in a legal twilight zone. It's a piece of sovereign land, but it's run by a private corporation. And that, right there, is one of the most ingenious and unsettling power grabs of the 21st century. Today, we're pulling on a thread that connects ancient diplomatic law to the very modern architecture of the cloud. This is Episode 5, Sanctuary in the Server Farm, How Tech Giants Exploit Diplomatic Law. Let's start with a principle that's centuries old, extraterritoriality. It's the idea that certain pieces of land or buildings in a country are not subject to that country's local law. The classic example is an embassy. The soil of the U.S. Embassy in, say, Nairobi is considered American soil for legal purposes. Kenyan police can't just walk in. This is a cornerstone of diplomatic relations, meant to allow countries to communicate securely and without fear of local interference. It's a sacred, mutual agreement between nations. Now, fast forward to our digital age. The world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, it's data. And data has to live somewhere. It lives in massive, warehouse-sized buildings called data centers. These are the physical clouds. And for tech giants, your Googles, your Metas, your Microsofts, where they build these centers is a strategic chess game. They want security, yes, but also stability, favorable tax conditions, and, crucially, legal predictability. They don't want a sudden change in a country's data privacy law or a surprise raid by a local magistrate to disrupt their global operations. So how do they achieve this? They've quietly sought, and often been granted, a form of legal immunity for their server farms that looks suspiciously like the diplomatic immunity granted to embassies. It's not called that, of course. The terms are softer: data haven status, special economic zone regulations, or guarantees of infrastructure inviolability. But the effect is similar. In some countries, agreements have been made that prevent local authorities from physically seizing servers or inspecting them without the company's permission. The data center becomes, in practice, a sovereign enclave of the corporation. Take Ireland, for instance. It's become the European hub for so many tech companies, not just for its tax rates, but for its legal frameworks. There have been instances where European law enforcement, investigating serious crimes, have faced immense hurdles getting data stored in Irish data centers owned by U.S. firms, because the legal requests get tangled in a web of corporate policy and international data transfer agreements. The physical building in Ireland becomes a black box, protected by layers of legal fiction that treat it not as a simple warehouse, but as an extension of the corporation's own sovereign entity. But here's where the unraveling gets really interesting, and where my perspective as an engineer and an immigrant really shapes my view. An embassy's immunity is balanced by reciprocity and a shared understanding of international law. If the U.S. abuses its embassy grounds in Nairobi, Kenya can do the same in Washington. It's a mutual, state-to-state relationship. The power is, in theory, balanced. What happens when one of the parties is not a state, but a corporation with the GDP of a mid-sized nation and a global user base in the billions? The reciprocity vanishes. You and I, as users, we are not a party to this agreement. We are the product. When a tech company negotiates with, say, the government of Uruguay or Denmark for inviolable data center rights, they are not negotiating on our behalf to protect our privacy. They are negotiating on their behalf to protect their assets, their algorithms, and their operational continuity. Our data is the asset inside the vault. The immunity is for the vault keeper, not for the treasures inside. This creates a perverse inversion of power. Imagine if a local police force in Spain suspects that evidence of a crime is stored in a particular data center. Under these data haven agreements, they might need to go through a Byzantine process with the corporation's headquarters in California, rather than with a Spanish judge. The corporation becomes the gatekeeper, the interpreter of local law on its own little patch of quasi-sovereign land. It's privatized diplomacy. And from my own experience, building things and navigating complex systems, I see the engineering mindset applied to law. Engineers look for the most efficient, stable, and scalable solution. To a global tech company, the messiness of 195 different national legal systems is an inefficiency to be engineered around. Creating these standardized, corporate-controlled legal zones around their server farms is the ultimate scaling solution. It's a workaround for the buggy, fragmented system of international law. But in doing so, they've written themselves a privilege that was historically reserved for nations, not for commercial entities. So where does this leave us, the people whose lives are rendered into the data flowing through these sanctuaries? It leaves us in a state of profound legal ambiguity. Our emails, our memories, our financial transactions, our intimate conversations, they are physically located in a place designed to be beyond the reach of the local communities and governments that surround it. The social contract is blurred. We pay taxes to our local governments. We vote for representatives who make our laws, but a core repository of our modern selves exists in a land that operates under a different, privately negotiated set of rules. This isn't necessarily a call to tear down the server farms. Our connected world depends on them, but it is a call to see them clearly for what they have become, not just utility buildings, but the de facto embassies of a new digital empire. And we must ask, as citizens and users, who is the ambassador for our data in these negotiations? Who speaks for the sanctity of our digital selves when these treaties are drawn up? The unraveling thread here shows that the old world of borders and diplomacy hasn't disappeared. It's been copied, pasted, and privatized. The cloud has a physical address, and at that address, a very old idea, extraterritoriality, is being used to enforce a very new kind of power. Thanks for listening. I'm Abnul J. Farabi. If this conversation resonated with you, please share this episode with one person who thinks deeply about the structures shaping our world. For more from me and the team, visit our production home at Light Not Studios. https://www.lightnotstudios.com. Until next time, keep pulling on threads.